The reality is, ladies and gents, that Arsenal at this moment in time have played 6 games in the Champions League and won 6, and they are the favourites for the Premier League title. The meltdown after the Aston Villa game was slightly over the top, and I told all of you that when Arsenal lost that game, I said the meltdown would be ridiculous. All over the socials, people, Man City are going to win the league. The big shark smells blood. The big shark's chasing you. I understand that narrative. And look, Man City know more than anyone how to get the job done. Man City know more than anyone in that Premier League right now, in terms of current players, what it means to go out there and win the Champions League and win the Premier League. However, the team that did the treble with Man City is not as good as this current Man City. Sorry, the team that won the treble is better than, miles better than this current City. Players like Laporte, Riyad Mahrez are no longer there. This Arsenal team has improved massively in the last couple of years, to the point of where I will argue with anyone right now, their squad depth is the best in Europe. You're going out there in a Champions League game, and the narrative over, the Twitters, the Instagrams was that it's just Club Brugge. Henry, you don't know what you're talking about. It's just Club Brugge. They're a pub team. Well, the same pub team went out and scored 3 goals against Barcelona. The same Barcelona that a lot of people think can go and win the Champions League this season. So my point is, anyone at this moment in time is capable of beating anyone. In that Champions League, Copenhagen right now have won a couple of games in a row. You never thought you'd see that in the Champions League. Villarreal, who only a few years ago were competing, now one of the worst teams in Europe. Napoli, who won Serie A last year, struggling. I look at it this way. If Arsenal get their players back fit, they get Gabriel and Saliba back, Mosquera's back, Declan Rice is fully fit again, you can't tell me that that team doesn't have a very, very good chance of doing the double this season. And I'm not afraid to say that. I'm not afraid to say that because I see quality in that Arsenal team. I see belief in a manager. I see the fans are all on the same page. I see players performing that were once written off. Noni Madueke, the disrespect that he was shown. And I told all of you, he will come good. That goal he scored last night was an absolute joke. Martinelli as well, a player that has been written off by loads of Arsenal fans, has now scored in 5 Champions League games in a row. They have scored 17 goals in the Champions League and conceded 1 in 6 games. That record speaks for itself. You can talk about tactics, you can talk about the manager, but at the end of the day, it's a results business. And Arsenal are the only team in the Champions League to win 6 out of 6. My team right now will be lucky. This team right here will be lucky to make the playoffs. And what really annoys me is look how far Arsenal have come when we beat them 3-0 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium under Conte. That was, 4 years ago? Look where they are now. Look where we are now. That is sticking to a manager, understanding his philosophy, sticking to his plan, backing him in the market for the bad times until you get to the good times. And right now, this season, Arsenal, top of the Champions League, top of the Premier League, still in the next round of the League Cup, still in the FA Cup because the games haven't played yet. They are, for me, the favourites for the Premier League, the favourites for the League Cup, and the favourites for the Champions League. And listen, it can all change. PSG had a terrible start to the Champions League last year, got to January, and they switched it on and beat everyone, including Liverpool, Villa, Arsenal, Real Madrid. They butchered everyone. Everyone. So, for me, I think Arsenal fans need to keep their boots on the floor. I think you have got a very, very good team. And I honestly believe right now, you are the favourites. Make sure you go down and drop a like on the video if you haven't already. The road to 100,000 subscribers is well and truly on. We're about 120 away from 85,500. That road to 100K is getting close now. If you are enjoying the content, please go down and hit that subscribe button. Now, this game on Saturday is going to be very, very interesting because Arsenal play Saturday night against Wolves, in which currently are the worst team I have seen in the Premier League since Derby County. They are on track right now to beat that record. They haven't won a game in the Premier League. They've scored 8 goals in 15 games. So that's nearly 50% of the games they've played, they haven't scored in. 33 conceded, comfortably the worst defense by a mile, up against a team that have won, 18 of their lost one game in 19, I think the stats are. A team that have only conceded 10 goals in 23 games. Like, the numbers are stupid. And in that game yesterday against Club Brugge, I'll say this and I'll say this until the cows come home. They were without 6 of their first team players. Gabriel, Saliba, Calafiori come on but was on the bench. Timber, that's 4. Declan Rice, that's 5. Saka didn't start, that's 6. Eze, that's 7. 7, you could maybe argue Trossard this season, that's 8 players were missing. But Lewis Skelly, Madueke, Zubimendi, Martinelli, all involved. Look at also their bench. Gabriel Jesus is back. A lot of people think if he has a good game against Wolves off the bench, he may start. They're in a position now where Arsenal have actually got 4 strikers. Havertz, Jesus, Marino can play there, and Gyökeres. But bearing in mind, Eze didn't play. Saka only played 19 minutes. Probably could have rested him. Wanyeri probably deserved more game time. But these group of players here, everyone's laughing. Everyone's saying, they're a joke and all that. We laughed, but I actually fear that this Arsenal team can go on and achieve greatness this season. Gabriel, Saliba, Dalman, Havertz, Trossard. Trossard will probably be back for the Wolves game. Rice will probably be back for the Wolves game. Gabriel should be back by the end of the month. Mosquera a little longer, January. Saliba should be back for the Wolves game. They could probably get away with resting Rice and Saliba as well. Like, you saw Calafiori come in yesterday and slot in at centre-back, which kind of tells me that Mikel Arteta may be preparing Calafiori to start against Wolves at centre-back. Nkapie only played 63 minutes. Norgard got his first start in the Champions League, played the full game. And it could have been an absolute butchering. Yes, they had chances. They had 7 shots on target. David Raya played really well. But look at the XG. Nearly 3 XG, 20 shots, more than 50% of those shots on target. 5 big chances created and 5 big chances missed. On another day, Arsenal win that 6-7-0. Similar sort of stats to when they beat PSV away from home in the Champions League last year. Now, Arsenal play Inter Milan next in the Champions League, and they can afford to lose that game and still be top of the table because Bayern Munich pretty much will win the next game against Union St. Gilles. But if Arsenal lose, let's say they lose 1 or 2-0 and Bayern Munich win, let's say they win 2 or 3-0, you'd imagine they won't win comfortably, even though they'll probably rotate. Their final game that Arsenal play is against Kalrat Almaty, who are bottom of the league by a distance. Bottom of the league by a long, long way. Long, long way. So, who have only scored 4 goals in 6 games. So the Arsenal team right now, genuinely, for me, I'm probably going to say at this moment in time that they're the team to beat in Europe and in the Premier League. And when you look at their current fixtures, Wolves, Everton, look at these fixtures coming up. Wolves, Everton, Palace, Brighton, Villa, Bournemouth, Liverpool. That Wolves game for me is pretty much nailed on 3 points. They should go out there comfortably, make some changes, score 2 or 3 goals, get a clean sheet. Everton away is tricky under the lights. That is very, very, very tricky. Crystal Palace, again, another tricky game. Brighton should be. I think they beat Wolves. I back them to beat Everton. I back them to beat Palace and Brighton. Villa, in recent years, Unai Emery has had Arteta's number. Bournemouth away, a fixture in which they lost last year. I back them to beat Liverpool. Palace and Villa are probably the most difficult games there because Palace are a very, very organised team. But for me, this is the chance for when Arsenal have to get revenge on Villa. Unai Emery, if he beats Arteta again, then serious questions need to be asked about that matchup because let's not kid ourselves. Unai Emery, in my opinion, should have been given a lot more time at Arsenal, and I think he deserves more respect for the job he's doing at Villa. But the fact that he's beaten him, I think, more than any other manager in the league so far is a very, very impressive stat for Unai Emery. You then get into, after the Arsenal game, you get into, mid-Jan, Portsmouth in the FA Cup is a comfortable tie. Forest away, that Inter Milan game, they'll probably heavily rotate. And then they got Karat Almaty, which they'll probably heavily rotate. Yeah, everyone laughed at that Arsenal team. For me right now, it is by far the team to beat. I look at them right now as the standard. They're the standard now to win a league title. And I honestly believe they've got all the ability to go on and win that league title. And if they do, look, fair play to them. If they don't, again, questions need to be asked about Arteta. Can he get it over the line? But it's going to be a very, very interesting season. It's going to be a very, very interesting. We're only a couple of weeks away from the transfer window. But drop a like, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you soon. I'm out.